The world's most famous supervolcano is the Yellowstone caldera, which is located in Wyoming. Yet, it is not the only supervolcano on the planet which is still active, as 8 more supervolcanoes are present, such as Campi Flegrei in Italy or Mount Aso in Japan. However, these supervolcanoes do not compare in size to those which existed in the distant past. One of these supervolcanoes once existed in what is now Canada for a period of 16 million years. Its ancient eruptions produced 50-kilometer-high plumes of ash and erupted more than 3,000 cubic kilometers of molten rock in a span of less than 24 hours. What I am referring to is the Blake River megacaldera complex. Today, the remnants of its supereruptions are the site of some of the world's best and largest copper, gold, and zinc deposits. This video will discuss this volcanic complex, which is likely the oldest supervolcano to form on the planet. The Blake River megacaldera can be found straddling the border of Quebec and Ontario, where it is 200 kilometers north-northeast of the city of Sudbury. The extent of this extinct supervolcano is truly massive. It measures more than 100 kilometers long and 80 kilometers wide. It contains a group of 3 massive calderas which formed in distinct eruptions approximately 2.7 billion years ago. At the time in Earth's geologic history, there were no complex life forms, although primitive life did exist through bacterial colonies such as stromatolite mounds. The length of the planet's day was only 11.5 hours, and the atmosphere contained no oxygen. Yet, underneath one of the early continents, a deep mantle plume had been rising through the crust. When it reached the surface, it began building 2 large shield volcanoes on the ocean floor. Initially, these 2 volcanoes were small in size and looked much like the craters of the moon volcano does today. However, after more than 1 million years of erupting, 2 towering shield volcanoes have been constructed, rising above sea level. Each of these volcanoes are approximately the size of Mauna Loa today and contain large summit calderas. These volcanoes also had lengthy fissures and hot springs, which provided an ideal climate for primitive life forms. However, underneath these 2 distant volcanoes was a single, massive magma chamber. Eventually, something caused a large section of the molten rock present in this magma chamber to erupt onto the surface through a series of vents. As a towering plume of ash shot into the atmosphere, pyroclastic flows raced across the barren landscape, traveling for several hundred kilometers before they stopped. Due to the large volume of material erupted, totaling more than 1,000 cubic kilometers of molten rock, the underlying magma chamber was largely empty. This caused an 80 by 40 kilometer wide section of ground to collapse downwards by several hundred meters, forming a massive caldera which was later filled in by an ancient ocean. In the aftermath of this eruption, a large central dome formed, which was uplifted by more than 1,000 meters, just barely breaking the ocean's surface. The next phase of activity began 2,704 million years ago when a large central stratovolcano was constructed out of the remains of this first caldera. Its central peak had a bright red color as it was mafic in composition, much like Mount Fuji. Over the next 3 million years, this volcano along with its network of vents was built into a towering stratovolcano. Then, a massive eruption occurred. Much of the underlying magma chamber drained to the southeast in a distant eruption, causing the existing stratovolcano to collapse into a caldera. This caldera measured 30 kilometers wide and 15 kilometers long. The last stage of volcanism occurred 2,696 million years ago. Deep on the ocean floor, a 20-kilometer wide caldera formed after a third massive eruption. At the edge of this caldera, large amounts of metal-rich magmas were deposited in what is termed a massive sulfide deposit. Over the next several million years, these extensive ore deposits were covered by 8 kilometers of volcanic rock. Today, this ancient supervolcano is extensively mined for its unusual minerals such as sylvanite, which contains gold, silver, and tellurium in its crystal structure. One of the larger ore deposits in the overall structure is known as the Horn deposit, and by itself contains 2.5 billion pounds of copper and 11.6 million ounces of gold. Thus, this area will be extensively mined for several centuries to come due to the abundance of its natural resources. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If